I'm still happy. I'm still buzzing. I feel really good today. What a difference a win made. One win. Oh, they reel me back in. Nuno's reel me back in like a massive fish. And you know what? I don't mind. I quite like it, actually, because when he arrived, I had hope. Everton, I had further hope. Brentford, I was traumatized. Leeds, I wanted to cry. He's got me back, Nuno. He's giving me hope again. He's giving me hope. And when the league table flashed up yesterday after the Manchester City game, so we beat Burnley. It's not looking too shabby. The fixtures are difficult after the international break, right? But I'm going to enjoy this week. Got a big game against Burnley, a big day against Burnley. And then we've got the international break. It could be a good few weeks to be a West Ham fan. As in comparison, in the context of things, right? I'm not, to be clear, I'm not buzzing that we're trying to finish 17th, but I'm buzzing that we're not bottom of the table, right? Small victories, small wins, and they are tiny. They're tiny, tiny wins, but that's all we can get at the minute. Anyway, welcome to the debrief show where we're going to be discussing West Ham's 3-1 victory over Newcastle together. The live chat's going to be having their say. I'm going to be popping their comments up on the screen here, and we're going to have a little discussion around everything. Under 21's on this evening as well. I believe Callum Marshall is starting. George Earthy is starting. But there's no Mohamedou Conte, which is perhaps interesting. Is he injured or is he just promoted? What's going on with him? But a big evening for Marshall and Earthy this evening, playing Wolves. So hopefully another win for them this evening. Anyway, right, live chat. How you all doing? If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. If you could drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up button, I would appreciate it. I would love you that little bit more than I do before we started the video. Kevin said, glad we're staying up. Well, we hope we are. Saying, just disappointed, Sullivan will inevitably have no pressure on him again. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure. There's a march on Saturday before the Burnley game. I'm not so sure about that. Paul says the same thing. Results may take away some of the pressure, but doesn't take it off totally. A lot of protesting campaign planned against the board. John saying, Potts' goal correctly called off according to the rule, but the rule's a joke. Soucek size 18s are always going to have his big toe offside. You can see his feet come around the corner before the rest of them. PR saying just goes to prove Potter wanted out. He could have picked that team from day one. To be fair, so could Nuno. Right, let's have it right and let's have it fair. Nuno could have picked that team against Brentford and Leeds. I'm still struggling to get over it. I will get over it at some point, but there is a bit of me. I'm 90% happy, but there's a 10% of me that's, like I said, 90% of me wants to kiss his bald head. 10% of me wants to wring his neck and say, what have you done that for, man? Well, look what you've done. Had you done that against Brentford and Leeds, maybe we would have got 3 points. We might have got beat both games anyway, but I don't think we would have done. So, yes, Potter could have done that, but Nuno could have also done it as well. He's done it now. Better late than never and all that. Simon says, we got the win and performance and showed for the first time in months a total team spirit. Now we must make it count and beat Burnley. I completely agree with all of that. Brian saying, amazing what a good win does. Gio's had a glow about him since the whistle. Nick from Cat and Booze told everyone he loved them at the end of his video. To be fair, he probably does. Speaking from a content creator's perspective, there is a lot of appreciation from us for everyone that tunes in. It does mean a lot to us. Luke said Potts is the next West Ham captain. He might be because, Bowen's going to be here for a while, isn't he? Well, all being well, Bowen will be here for a while, and I can't see anyone taking an armband off him. They will sometimes, but usually there's got to be almost like a behaviour or a drastic dip in performances for that to happen. So Bowen's here for, I can't remember how long he's got left on his contract since he signed it. Probably another 5 years, but let's just say 3 years he's in the first team, then he gets demoted to squad player. In 3 years' time, Potts will be 25, right? So there's plenty of time for him to learn and, grow his influence in the team, to grow him to get more confident. And I'd imagine his aspirations will be to captain West Ham, and it should be. And that should be any kid in the academy that has leadership, that should be their dream. Ryan is absolutely buzzing. If we can beat Burnley, and I think Nuno can turn this around, and he would have worked absolute miracles. Leslie said the best thing was that the players were happy to play for each other. Beefy is loving seeing me bouncy. Yeah, it's good. It's not just there's this thing is right. I try and keep this as much West Ham as possible, but there is an element of Hammers chat here. When we lose, we get like a double blow. So as a West Ham fan, bang, you've just got beat. Oh, Geo Hammers chat, bang, you've just got beat. You're going to be miserable all week. You're going to discuss getting beat again, etc., etc. So when we win, it's like, Geo, the West Ham fans buzzing, but then Hammers chat, Geo's buzzing as well. And I mean, Gonzo don't really speak after the games. And we'll speak in the morning after, but so the evening we don't tend to speak. But last night I sent him a little voice. I was like, I'm buzzing. And he sent me one back. He was buzzing as well. It's a relief. We might not lose our jobs. Taylor said, looked like a prime Nuno at Nottingham Forest yesterday. Feel a sense of relief. I completely understand that one. Mikhail saying, how do we find Tom's position and role? As in, I assume you mean Soucek. I think he's going to be someone that comes off the bench. I think that's what he's going to be. I think he's going to be a squad player, and we're going to use him as and when we require him. Sometimes it'll be midfield, sometimes it'll be striker, sometimes it'll be to come on and basically be centre back because our 18-yard box is getting bombarded and we just need him on the pitch to head things away. And I think that's his role, but I think he can, that leadership group that they have in the modern day, he's part of that, and that can be quite important. I imagine, I'm just guessing here, I wouldn't be surprised if Soucek's quite important for Jared Boyd. It wouldn't surprise me if they were quite close and if Bowen maybe leaned on him if he was feeling a little bit crap or something. I'm just purely guessing though. But he's a big lovable giant, isn't he? Wirtz says, don't want to get too excited by the win as it may be a false dawn. Wait until next week. Hopefully it's the start of something good though. That's fair. You're allowed to do that. That's understandable. James saying it's the first time he's seen him live, win live, since 2018. Bloody hell, that's a long time. 7 years. There was a couple of years where he couldn't go in that time though, so still 5 years though, isn't it? Hammer Legend, good performance. If we keep that level, the performance will be okay and hopefully avoid injuries. I agree. And also we've got the African Cup of Nations coming up with Wan-Bissaka and Diouf going, and obviously Scarles is injured, isn't he? So the natural replacements of Walker Peters and Scarles, one of them's out till December and they go away in December. So it might tally up that it's all right, but it might be that there's an overlap and we're missing fullbacks. So that's something we're going to have to come up with a solution from within. There's no transfer window. I did wonder maybe that's why we've got Myers in the squad. Are we looking at him and Igor thinking, can one of you play left back? Igor certainly played left back in his career as well. I don't recall seeing Myers playing left back. The thing is, he's played left of a back three. So can he then convert out there? You'd imagine so. He's a wonderful footballer, but there's a lot of pressure on essentially, in this context of thing, a kid. Brian saying, Grace better be wearing a West Ham outfit for every game. I can confirm it's unwashed and is being saved for Friday night. She will not be wearing it again until Friday night. Chim said, I think Nuno chose those lineups against Brentford and Leeds to send a message to Sullivan and his meddling. Maybe. If the thing is, though, if he has done that, I'll be even more fuming, right? Because it's a stupid thing to do and it's cost us points and we can't afford to do that. I think the biggest message he sent to Sullivan about the squad was putting Soucek on up front. That sends a message. Look at my squad. I'm having to play him up front. Kyle Walker-Peters was playing left midfield. Like, that sends a message. You do not need to throw games in order to do it. And I don't believe he did it. You could be right, Chim. I just think he was trying to be too clever. I think he was rewarding players that work hard in training, probably look good in training, because during his press conference ahead of this game, he said some players perform during the week, but in the competition they don't turn up. And there's others that don't do great training, but during the game they turn up. That was telling, in my opinion. I think he's referring to Soucek and Irving, and then he's possibly referring to one or two players who wasn't in the starting 11. Maybe they're not the best trainers, but they played against Newcastle, and obviously done well. We forgives him for Brentford because of our international players, but Leeds was unacceptable, and I think that's fair. Bob Lee says, have we lost players that could have been better if the attitudes had been better? Has attitude been player all along? Have we lost players that could have been better if the attitude was better? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. In the past, certainly. Now, I don't really think anyone's been bombed out. Maybe Todibo. He was excellent against Newcastle, but pre-Newcastle, he was terrible. And a lot of the time I watched him thinking he wasn't arsed about playing for West Ham. So maybe him. But I don't know. If it is an attitude thing, I'm always on team, just bin them off kind of thing. You can't work with people that don't want to be around. Avid said, even my wife said something looked different about me. And I said, we'd won. She was flabbergasted how much of a lift it can give you. It does. Lauren commented this morning, I was whistling whilst making breakfast. I was in a good mood. Rex says, buzzing about the result. Biggest plus was the backline areola finally clicked. Still some errors to iron out, but if all of them seem to have improved their personal weak points to an extent. Cesar said, I thought Nuno was experimental with the players the club bought and signed. We all went in this midfield. Glad to see it. Charles says, 28 possession is more entertaining. I've just replied to someone who commented on my video earlier, not on Tartan Geo, because I said we outplayed Newcastle, and he quoted the possession stats. And said, what do you mean we outplayed on 28%? I said, well, hang on a minute. The first half, it was 48%, 52%. We outplayed Newcastle in the first half. I don't think we outplayed them in the second half. I think we contained them in the second half. But the first 45 minutes yesterday, I thought we outplayed Newcastle in the first half, in my opinion. TF said, this is the first time this season the players look like they actually cared. Make West Ham great again says, why do you think he played Todibo and Kilman on the wrong side? Is it to make complacent players think more about their roles, or they're out of the comfort zone? We'll discuss that in a second. I've got two theories. I discussed a little bit in player ratings, but I've got a second theory as well. Avid's getting ready to go on vacation with the missus to celebrate their 16th anniversary. Wow. Congratulations. You're older than I thought. I thought, do you know, when we've communicated, I thought, I don't know, I just got the feeling you were like in your mid-20s or something like that. But congratulations. Hope you have a wonderful vacation, the pair of you. Body was saying, when do we say Nuno out after next loss? I'm happy to keep him for the season. I've never been Nuno. I mean, there is one or two. I've seen a small minority saying get him out after Leeds, but I think sometimes it's just an emotional reaction. I can only speak for myself. I'm okay with him until the end of the season, no matter what happens. I think he's the best person for the job. And if we stay up, I think it's because of him. And if we go down, he will have contributed, of course, but I don't think it'll be his fault per se. I'll be looking at the boardroom. Body's not convinced with Nuno yet, though. I don't think other people should be either. It's one win. Well, see, the thing is, Body, I'm not basing it off of one win against Newcastle. I'm basing it off of what I've seen from Nuno at Nottingham Forest and what I've seen from him at Wolves to some extent, a lesser extent because it was so long ago. Spurs, I'm willing to just dismiss, and I don't know how he got on in Saudi. I don't watch Saudi football. So my confidence in Nuno isn't because we beat Newcastle United. My confidence in Nuno is because of what he achieved at Nottingham Forest. Yesterday is just, if anything, I've got less hope in Nuno than I did when he was appointed. And the reason for that is because of Brentford and Leeds. He's restored a bit of the hope that I had. But it did take a severe kicking because of those two games. So that's where my confidence in Nuno comes from. And I will defend my point. I think that's fair. I think if you said to me, Magassa won't cut it at West Ham, I'd say, okay. I'm not confident he will. I'm also not confident he would. The reason being, and I call it I just call it a pre-West Ham opinion. I don't have a pre-West Ham opinion on Magassa because I've never heard of him, right? Never heard of him. So that my opinion on Magassa is purely at West Ham United because that's the only time I've ever seen him play football. My opinion on Nuno goes back way before West Ham. My opinion on Max Kilman, James Ward-Prowse, Fernandes, Walker Peters, Wan-Bissaka, exists before they come to West Ham. I watch a lot of football. I watch a lot of Premier League football. So I've got quite strong opinions on pretty much everyone in the Premier League to some extent. So when they come to West Ham, that opinion comes with them. Yes, it's a fresh start, and I'll judge it as I see it at West Ham. But I do take that into consideration. That's why, here's the unpopular bit, that's why I've still got faith in Mads Hermansen. I realise doing good at the minute. I've still got faith that Hermansen is a good goalkeeper because of my opinion and based on what I've seen from him at Leicester City. Anyway, let's turn back to the live chat. Paul says, Potts had a great tackle in the first half that really told me that he was up to speed. It has taken our academy players a bit of time to adjust to the speed of the lead. That tackle told me all. The one on Tonali, I mean, there was one, he got given a free kick against him, even though it was a wonderful tackle, in my opinion. He intercepted that ball into Waltemada. He had another one, pardon me, with Tonali as well. He was good. TM said, one of the things I noticed experts said last season was how Nuno and Forrest dominated teams without the ball. I didn't really get it, but I understand what they meant by yesterday. It wasn't you that called me out. Was it you? Was it you? I once said we controlled the game with, like, I once said the words, you don't have to have the ball in order to control the game. And someone said I was deluded. And he wrote like an essay about why I was thick for saying it. And I sent him an article, which Jose Mourinho said the same thing. And I've never seen him comment on the channel again. Sometimes I think it's just easier just to reply and go, okay, fair enough. I understand it now. Anyway, I'm not saying I'm not thick or deluded. Just that Mourinho is also thick and deluded. Ross says the Brentford Leeds lineup is honestly the strangest starting 11 I've ever seen from us. Could have avoided this situation by just playing that 11. Troy's saying can't be a coincidence that so many players regain form at the same time. Nuno gets the credit. MJ says it feels so good to win and play well. I still don't get why it took this long to get the lineup. Going to the Burnley game and the March. Hope we can play it like that again. John saying, enjoy the win for now. Only time will tell if a corner has been turned, but yesterday was night and day from recent performances. I am 100% in agreement with everything that John has just said there. Mark has said Potts already looks like part of the furniture one. The furniture one, it's because I'm reading something else at the same time there. And here we go. XZ said, can't believe how many headers Kilman-Todibo won. Feels like different players. Right then, I'm going to bring up the question from Make West Ham Great again. Why do you think he played Todibo and Kilman on the wrong sides? Community question. Get your answers in to Make West Ham Great again. What's your theory? Why do you think Nuno did that? Pop it in to the live chat and I'll give you my reasons in just a second. If you watch the player ratings, you'll know one of them, but you don't know the other one because I'm not told anyone yet. And while you're all popping your responses in, if you're watching this later on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, get involved in the comments below, pop it in there and let me know what you think, because I'm interested, because someone's going to get it right. There was a reason Nuno done it. I'm pretty sure someone between us, we're going to get it correct. But while you're all doing that, I just want to point you in the direction of beer 52. If you would like 8 free beers, there's 3 missing. I've drunk them. They were nice. I can now recommend them. Delicious beers from Northern Monk. 8 free beers. Plus, you get 2 free snacks. There's only 1 remaining. I've ate the other one, the paprika. That was also lovely. And you get the Ferment magazine as well. All you have to do is go to Beer 52. That's beer52.com/hammers. The link's in the description below. Just click it. When you're on there, it'll ask if you want mixed beers or if you want light beers. For those that perhaps you're not keen on the stout or the darker beers, you can pick the lighter ones. You've got to pay the postage, which is £5.95. And then Beer 52 will send you 8 beers, 2 snacks, and the Ferment magazine. You just cover the postage, £5.95. That's it. You can cancel or pause your subscription at any time as well. However, if you do keep it, they will send you different beers every single month. You won't get the same beer twice. Plus, I think it's quite nice. I think it's better than some of the bland stuff that you can get from the bigger brands in the supermarket. So give it a go. £5.95 postage. Give it a try. 8 beers for £5.95. Ray's got them. Do you like them, Ray? Have you opened one? Let me know if you've opened one and if you liked it. Hopefully you did. And while you're doing that, I'm going to have a little look and see if anyone's put in their theories as to why we swapped it round. Stevie reckons Nuno did it for a laugh. To be fair, I think that's why he plays Soucek and Irving in midfield. So maybe. Roger saying Kilman played there at Wolves. He did play right centre back at Wolves quite often. They did have a few left footers, Wolves, but he did. It's not an unusual position for Kilman. I don't know enough about Todibo pre West Ham, whether he played right or left centre back. But some centre backs, right foot centre backs, are better on the left. Like Winston Reid is arguably the best example you can give. Van Dijk at Liverpool. There's some right footers that are just better on the left of the two. But certainly Kilman's got experience there. Number 6 reckons it could be so they don't get turned. Kilman got turned on the edge of the bloody box. Joshua says passing angles into the middle and tackling inverted wingers on the strong foot rather than the weaker one. But tackling the inverted wingers is a good one. The passing angles is the point I was making in the player ratings. Garino said to increase their awareness of what's going on around them as they're more aware of being out of position. Billow said, I think it's because of the tackling with their strongest foot. Ray said he loves to be a nutty professor and tinker with the team. He loves it. There you go, everyone. Ray loved the team against Brentford. Just a joke. Pierre said communication between fullback and centre-back. Someone commented that, saying obviously Todibo and Diouf would have been communicating in French throughout. Chris saying because playing opposite positions would have closed the gap between them down the middle and they'd be able to cover each other. Harry said once Kilman on their side so we can shout at him. Brilliant. Reckon it's so they can pass onto their stronger foot into the base of midfield. That was my first theory. Nick's also doing the French speaking on the left, English speaking on the right. My first theory was the passing, and also, of course, no. By the way, Fred, of course, no one knows. Nuno will know, and the players will know. That's it. We're not meant to know. And here's the thing: to some extent, I don't really want to know. If someone asks him and he gives the answer, great. But sometimes I think keep your secrets, especially when they work. Keep your secrets to yourself at the club. Don't always show your hand. It worked for one game. Hopefully it works for another one if we continue it. So my 2 theories. Number 1 was that long passes as well as the short ones into midfield. I felt like when Kilman plays left centre-back, he's quite bowling heavy. And if you want to go long and diagonal, you want your teammate to be on the touchline, really. You don't want to be hitting him, in and around the 18-yard box. It's difficult. It's crowded. It's hard to get that pass. So if you're going to go high and long, you want your teammate to be on the touchline because he's usually got 5 yards from his opponent and he's got enough time to bring it down. So Kilman's banging out to Bowen. And I think we want to get Bowen off that touchline. Yesterday, I strongly believe in the first half. I thought Bowen's movement in the first half yesterday was magnificent. He was sometimes out wide, then he was coming in field. His movement for the own goals, brilliant. It's so simple, but brilliant. It gets Gordon and Byrne chasing him, and Wan-Bissaka takes the space. Thank you. I thought he was getting close to Paqueta, Fernandes, Wilson. I thought Bowen was brilliant. But if you want that pass from Kilman, you need him out on the right. So if you want Bowen off the touchline, you've got to stop that. So I think we put Kilman there so he could hit Somerville. And if Somerville's not there, it's Diouf that's out there. And I think I'm okay with those things. I think that pass was on a few times as well. So there's that reason. And the second reason, I wonder if Nuno's, I don't know this, I wonder if Nuno's looked at the way that Waltermad plays at Newcastle, because I felt he was up against Todibo more than Kilman. I felt like Todibo was not man-marking him, but that was the defender-striker combination more often than not. Maybe he's looked at it, seen Waltermad tends to hang to the right, and decided he wants Todibo against the striker rather than Max Kilman. And if that's the decision, it works. He got subbed off at halftime. I don't know. I'd have to go and study Newcastle a little bit more to work out if Waltermad is more right-hand side heavy as a striker. Because you do get strikers that tend to prefer their left or right centre-back in terms of position rather than personnel. Whether it's that one or not, I don't know. But this is it. None of us know, but that's a good thing. Right then, let's get turned back to the live chat. Ryan saying, I reckon he's probably seen something in training. He was experimenting with Scars at right back, who's left-footed, so maybe prefers a right footer on the left side. Thing is, he didn't have it at Nottingham Forest. At Nottingham Forest, he had Murillo at left centre back and Milankovic at right centre back. He didn't change them. Nico Williams, he used over on the left, but that's because they didn't really have a left back, and Aina was also right-footed, and he played right back. So that was his pairing at Nottingham Forest. So he did have a right footer at left back, but not because he was led by foot. I think it's just that was his two best fullbacks, and they were both right-footed. Dom said it's nice to see passion from Nuno on the bench. He always does it. Nuno's a big believer that when they score, they all celebrate like that. He did it all the time at Nottingham Forest and Wolves. I quite like it. When they score, he gets the coaches together. They have the big cuddle and stuff. And it creates that team mentality in the dugout as well as on the pitch. I'm all for it. I'm a strong believer that the head coach and his coaching staff, you win together, you lose together. It's not a bad thing, especially considering it's a new team as well. I know he's got Fagora there now, but he doesn't have the other ones. So he's got to create that bond with the West Ham Academy staff. So it was a pleasing sight. Ryan saying Mavpanos being our best centre-back. If Todibo and Kilman continue those performances, it will be hard for Mavpanos to get in. Paul said if Todibo maintains form on the left, it could be him and Mavpanos could be our best combo. It's possible. Where it says, I think Nuno's best manager we could hope for. Lucky to have him. If the club had waited to sack Potter, could have been a lot worse. Well, you look at it since, I doubt you'd have went back to Nottingham Forest, but with the Wolves job coming up for grabs, you'd imagine they'd have gone back for Nuno and seen if he fancied gone back there. I will say this, yeah, we're 26 minutes in, we're out the danger zone. I do hope they hire Gary O'Neill. Now, I quite like Gary O'Neill's speak when he was the Monday night pundit. I didn't watch it because it was our game, but I've seen clips of him, and I like what Gary O'Neill says. I think one day he'll be a good head coach. But they're a way to hire the guy that got sacked last season for not being good enough. They're a way to hire the guy that didn't win in their first 11 games of last season. So if Wolves hire Gary O'Neill, I'm going to like that appointment because I don't think that's a good appointment for Wolves. Apparently, he's still on their payroll because when they sacked him, his contract's until 28. Apparently, they just pay him weekly. Apparently, it's just like, just come back to your job. So I think he's effectively on gardening leave at the minute until he gets a new role, and then they stop paying him. And you come. But the squad since last season, Gary O'Neill got sacked from Wolves last season. And the players he's got now are worse. Nuri and Cunha were by far the best players under O'Neill. They're gone. So I'm not gonna lie. I know Soma said it can't really be worse. I mean, no, 2 points from 10. It's near on impossible to be worse, right? You could have no manager and pick up more than 2 points in the next 10 games, surely. But is anyone really thinking? There was a reaction when we got Nuno. I think a lot of people went, "Oh, damn, West Ham will be all right." When Forrest got Dyche, and I appreciate they've got a good squad anyway, but when Forrest got Dyche, I think there was a lot of people, including myself, who went, "Yeah, they'll be all right." Is anyone looking at Wolves and O'Neill thinking, "Nah, they're all right"? I'm not feeling that. Lewis says, "It's incredible what one game can make. I'm so happy to know the team has performances like that in their locker. I was worried we had nothing about us anymore. A good chance to stay on." Well, Lewis was like me. I remember Lewis's reaction to that team against Brentford. Brian saying, "Is it too early to get excited that we were to get a top striker and strong centre back in January? We could push ahead." Yes, because here's the thing. I maybe this is a video for another day. I'm not confident we have a good January transfer window because ultimately, I'm one of those thinking get to January and get reinforcements in, because that's hope. That's a beacon of hope up ahead, right? In 2 months' time, January, buy some bloody players, improve the squad, and hopefully we'll be all right. It's hope. But let me just slap a little bit of reality on that hope. Sullivan's still going to be one in charge. The guy that was in charge of the terrible summer window we've just had is going to be in charge of the January transfer window. And we've had some good January transfer windows. A couple. We got Lingard, brilliant. We got Soucek and Bowen, brilliant. But we've also had some pretty stinky ones as well. We can't forget the Jordan Hugo one, the Calvin Phillips one. Now, I was happy we signed Phillips. I thought he'd be a good player. But I wasn't happy. Even if Phillips was a good player for us, it still wasn't enough, because we offloaded Fernandes and Benrahma and didn't bring anyone in. So even if Phillips worked out, it's still overall a bad transfer window. We've been in the top 4 coming into the January and not really strengthened. We've still got the same issue in January, which is him in charge of the window. And I know Nuno might be picking the players and Jorge Mendes might be involved in stuff. That's good. But ultimately, it's still him that's negotiating. It's still him that's deciding how much money we spend. So there's a beacon of hope in a transfer window. But unfortunately, it's the guy that's got us into this position overall that's still steering the ship when it comes to January. So sorry, I'm throwing a little bit of negativity on at the end, but I think it's almost like me slapping myself with a little bit of reality, which is it's still David Sullivan that's in charge of the January transfer window. If anything, I'm hoping that the protests, I think they'll work eventually. I do believe Sullivan in particular will step down. I do believe that. Brady, I don't know. I think we've got a bigger fight on our hands to get her out of her job, but I think Sullivan will step down sooner than her. But in the short term, if he's not gone by January, which is 2 months away, what the protests may do is force him to spend money, because he's not going to want it to be his fault if we go down. So he's going to, I think he will spend money. Whether he spends it wisely or not is a different conversation. But I think the protest may just force him to do that, because you often get reactions from him. And I think that will be one of the reactions. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. It's Grace's bedtime. I'm away to get out of here. Thank you very much for all the comments on the live stream. If you're watching this later on Monday, Tuesday, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Please do drop a like on the video. Please do subscribe if you're new to the channel. Get your free beers from Beer 52, and I'll catch you in a bit.